The question becomes, why does the question of race engender such hysteria? That's a question about you. That's a question about you, not about race. Gulag Archipelago? Come on, man. 100 years from now in the United States of America, if you ask what does blackness mean, the answer is going to be very, very different than what it meant 50 years ago or than what it means today. And we're going to have to work that out. Now, I think it raises a lot of interesting questions. It raises some philosophical questions. You know, my son is a gay man. I did come up in the AME church. We were taking the kids to an AME church for a while. And he's like saying, all those people think that I'm going to go to hell because I'm gay, and he's mad at me. Right. And I'm trying to say, don't be mad at them, man. These are just some Christians. They don't mean you any harm, really. I mean, they're really pretty decent people. I agree with you. I say to him, I agree with you about it's okay for you to be gay. I'm not, you're not going to go to hell. I don't think you're going to go to hell. But these are not bad people. These are, and I'm saying, look. We used to be a society where everybody was in the closet, and we're becoming a society where people can just do what they want to do. Some of the people from the old school are still with us. What are we going to do? Throw them in the dustbin of history? I mean, we can be a little bit charitable. I'm trying to say to him. So that's my question to you people who are getting ready to throw away race. What are you going to do with a guy like me who still wants to hold on a little bit to the narrative of his life that he wants to read through the South Side of Chicago?
That's a great question, Glenn. I love that question. Thank you so much. I so often feel the same way, just from a different angle, right? So when I was growing up, to me, blackness equaled enterprise, because I would read Black Enterprise magazine at Grandma's house. Blackness was Earl Graves Jr., Percy Sutton, John Johnson, Barry Gordy, Reginald Lewis. You know the whole lineup of characters. And I was so surprised to find that people had a different definition of blackness when I entered college and law school in a larger world. And in the young generation today, blackness, oppression, nothing. I sometimes feel like a dinosaur. I kind of feel like, as you suggested, time is moving by. My generational way of understanding blackness is going to become obsolete. What do? I feel that same sense of becoming more obsolete as the young generation grows up. And so I in a sense, I almost have come to the place where, well, number one, I just can't abide the dogma. I just can't abide the slogan words. You're never going to convince me that blackness equals perpetual victimhood. That's not my bag. That's not my game. That's not how I'm oriented. My neural pathways don't accept that. Does not compute. So for me, logically, retirement from blackness is a way to retain my mental human dignity and coherence, because I refuse to buy into a system that defines blackness so disadvantageously.
But don't you see how the very necessity of, quote, announcing your retirement from blackness is in a way a tribute to blackness? Doesn't it give the category meaning even as you eschew it? I mean,
question. I definitely do, because if you retire from working in the office, or if you retire as a football coach or as a Army general, I mean, you retain the muscular memory of working in the office or working as the coach or working as a soldier. So I'm not suggesting that I'm losing, forgetting all of my muscular memory of growing up in blackness as a Black American. It formed who I am. It's a part of who I am. But I do think that it's a small way I can undercut the power of dogma that I disagree with. I think Alexander Solzhenitsyn, wrote an essay called "Live Not in Lies" or something like that. Maybe that was a phrase in his essay. But the point being, an individual can't change society, but the least you can do, at least in your personal life, is to make personal choices that don't mouth the lie, that don't strengthen the lie, that don't reinforce the lies, otherwise say in the Soviet Union. To me, I very much see the current state of blackness as almost Soviet in nature, to the degree that it imposes dogma and slogan words on free-thinking people, right? I love free Black thought, for example, because people are open-minded. curious.
Okay, I got to object. I got to object. I object.
Go right ahead. Jump in.
Listen to yourself. Solzhenitsyn? The Gulag Archipelago? Come on. Come on.
It's a
well, hold on. Let me finish. Let me make my point. You made your point. Let me make mine.
Yes.
This is nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
The massive apparatus of the state employed to suppress millions of people across a continent based on an ideology that has death camps at the end of the trail is nothing like this whatsoever. And the fact that you would invoke that analogy,
sure,
is indicative of hysteria. And the question becomes, why does the question of race engender such hysteria?
Oh,
that's a question about you. That's a question about you, not about race.
Okay.
Gulag Archipelago?
Come
on, man. Come on.
Okay, let me answer.
Totalitarianism? Death camps?
Answer? Can I reply?
Yeah.
Okay, here's my answer, Clint. And thank you for that vigorous critique. I appreciate that. Because in the law, we always recognize that one can make an argument by using the most extreme examples of something to discredit it. So you have done a great job in suggesting that these manifestations that I allude to are not real and they're overblown. Well, I think that is true. I think those examples are certainly not examples we live with today. But if you dig deeper, Clint, if you dig deeper into what I'm getting at, it's not the external manifestations of the camps and the state system. It's the smaller, more personal things that the author of The Power of the Powerless wrote about. The writer, the playwright from Prague.
Yeah, that was Václav Havel.
Exactly.
I love that essay. I love The Power of the Powerless.
I love it too.
Go on.
Yeah, sure. And one of the things he suggests is that during that system, people would mouth certain phrases or slogan words, workers of the world unite. And they would watch what they said. And that was the mindset that allowed the system to continue. Similarly, I suggest that among those who are nonconformers, there's an increasing desire and sense of watching what you say in certain circumstances. Notice that 2 or 3 times in this conversation where I've looked to the side and kind of lowered my voice. And in fact, Clint, notice the background. Do you see the wonderful background? That's the Brooklyn. I don't usually sit here. Jen will tell you, I usually sit for podcasts in my regular place, all of my diplomas. So why do I sit here for this podcast? It's because my normal place is above my family member who's home for the week. And I know my family member, just laughing, I know my family member's perception of my opinions. So I was forced to have this podcast here because of that desire to respond to the dogma and slogan words of someone else. If that's not the beginning of the bad place, what is the beginning of the bad place, right?
No, well, you have insinuated earlier in the conversation here that you were in a Soviet whatever, and I interpreted that to mean that you didn't want to be overheard by people sharing space with you who might disagree, and because you knew you'd be judged, you knew you'd be held to some kind of account. But I'm sorry, I'm not sure you're appreciating my point, which is that's a kind of tyranny. I mean, I loved that essay of Havel.
Yes, great.
To live within the truth. To not be complicit in the reproduction of the lie. The greengrocer puts the workers of the world unite sign in the window because he just wants to get along. He doesn't want the party apparatchik coming around saying something. And the lady who's getting her vegetables sees the sign and doesn't say anything, but she knows it doesn't mean anything and it's all a fraud and everybody is complicit. Right. And that's a small illustration of a larger thing that makes the system go. And it's a system of lies. It's a system of lies. Mm-hmm. Now, is race that? Is race the experience of race in American life? That? Is it a system of lies? Is it a compromise with the devil? Is it a surrendering of our soul? Is it a flowing along with the crowd down the river of pseudo life? That's a quote from Havel. He says, that's the power of the powerless. The power of the powerless is they're prepared to say the emperor has no clothes. They're prepared to live within the truth, come what may. And is race that? I don't think so. Frankly, I don't think so. And in fact, I think this is my argument ultimately with Coleman. He says the end of race politics, and then he says arguments for a colorblind America. How did you get to politics? I get the idea that here's a woman, I love her. The fact that she's not Black should not impede me from making a union with her. I get the idea that I shouldn't live in a box. I get that. How did you get to the end of race politics from the personal claim that racial identity is a heavy coat that I choose not to wear? I choose to take it off. Politics, that means mass incarceration. That means urban ghettos, and what are you going to do about it? That means how do you interpret the 14th Amendment given the history of this country, and so on. That means who's the mayor of Chicago? That means what's the tax rate? There's no race politics. I can't take race into account when I'm talking about politics. You never demonstrated that. You asserted that. You asserted that on the basis of a relatively narrow and I don't think all that profound claim, which is that when I go through life, I shouldn't let race be that much of a determinant of who I am or what I do. The country still has the history that it has. You didn't elide and erase that by your personal claim of liberty. I wish not to be encumbered by the raciality of society. Therefore what about politics? Not very much as far as I can see.